This presentation includes forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results may differ materially as a result of various risk factors, including those described in the 10Ks, 10Qs, and 8Ks VMware files with the SEC.
Thank you, Maurizio. Thank you, and welcome to VMworld. It's great to be here in Barcelona again, my second VMworld in Barcelona, and what a year it's been since we were here together just a year ago, right? And the pace of innovation continues to pick up, and this period of rapid and change and disruption in the industry. And as we think about this period that we're in, we, like this model that IDC put forward about the 3 generations of IT, and the first generation being the mainframe era where the killer app was automated, a payroll and thousands of users and hundreds of applications, and you went to this carefully managed mainframe environment. And that gave way to the client-server era, and we refer to it as distributed computing, and with it the killer app was the ERP, and at the center of every application was the database, and but it created the silos of IT, if you could. And I spoke at our event in the Louvre in Paris, and I thought it was such a fitting spot to talk about these museums of IT past, where you had the mainframe room and you had the mini computer room and the HPC room and all of these vertical infrastructure. But this is rapidly giving way to what we'll call the mobile cloud era, where we're looking at billions of users and millions of applications. And for this, the killer app is probably something in the big data mobile space, but probably not even invented yet. And IT teams must operate today at much, much higher velocity than ever before, and only the fastest will win. But it's not just the mobile cloud era, and we think about these 4 key technology trends as shaping everything going on in IT today: social, mobile, cloud, and big data. And everything of this is touching one and the other, and everything going on in IT is represented by one or multiple of these trends today, and more people coming online, driving more social and more mobile devices, demanding more infrastructure and cloud, and creating and driving and needing more data. Huge demands on IT infrastructure, and a new architecture is needed. And fundamentally, virtualization has been this powerful underlayment that's enabling us to create this mobile cloud infrastructure of the future. But the challenge that each one of you faces is not just building that tomorrow, but you also have to operate the environment of the PC and server era, of today. And fundamentally, the challenge is liberating resources from today, enabling you to invest in the infrastructure of tomorrow. And simply put, as an industry, we're spending too much on today's stuff. And according to Gartner, that less than 30% of IT budgets today are being spent on innovation. And the reason is the apps are hard, This museum and silos of IT, the infrastructure is brittle and heavy, the management is slow and hard, and as a result, less than 30% being spent on innovation. We do a survey twice a year of thousands of VMware customers, and you are better than that, Over a third better than that in terms of innovation, with on the average of 40% being spent on innovation today. But our goal is 50-50 or maybe even beyond, where we've created an environment that, in fact, apps are easy, it's on demand, that provisioning and production environments and the operational characteristics are far more automated. And we believe that IT needs to move from this era where today it's seen as this ball and chain slowing business down, where tomorrow it becomes a powerful tool to advance the business. And we continue to see that this is the environment that we are out to build. And ultimately, though, IT isn't about IT. IT is about building an environment for applications, millions of applications, both traditional applications as well as next generation applications. And one size does not fit all. And we believe that IT and enterprise applications must become cool as well. And I asked our team just to, what are some of the cool apps? And how many of you remember going and getting your driver's test? Or maybe taking your kids and getting your driver's test? Wasn't that a wonderful experience? Yeah, it sucked. Right? Long lines and slow manual processes as well, right? But here's just one example of a cool application where in Ireland they're now doing, right, have a mobile tablet application, right, that is replacing their paper-based processes, but still needs to connect to all of the, right, infrastructure and the normal secure environments for the driver information and tests and so on that go with it. A solution, a road safety authority, mobile application for iPads, and it's reduced the waiting time by 80% for Irish driving tests. So very cool. And again, seeing this combination of cool new applications with infrastructure, security, and governance requirements. And as we think about this next generation of IT, who will build it? Who will be the ones who are innovating and driving this next generation infrastructure? Who will lead the mobile cloud era? Our view on this is, it's you. You who were the most innovative, the most disruptive of the last era, will be the ones that, again, are the transformational leaders to create the infrastructure for the mobile cloud era. So we were having a little bit of fun as a team, and we said, well, I wonder how you describe yourself, and what would be some of the words that you describe your role, right, as the leaders and these innovators and disruptors in IT today. Masters of the universe was one that came back. Well, that's pretty bold, right? Is that how you think of yourself, right? Or maybe gods, right? And this picture of the Sistine Chapel, and some of you have no lack of confidence and self-esteem, obviously. Or maybe ninjas, where virtualization is like the martial arts, right, of jiu-jitsu. Bullfighters here in Spain, where the bull is complexity and cost. And we know all what happens to the bull in the end. It loses. Or maybe dragon slayers, the slaying the dragon of complexity. But the word that seemed to come back most often, and that we resonate with most clearly, is champions. The champions of virtualization, and now the champions of the mobile cloud era. And what are the imperatives for you that we believe are fundamental as we look to this next generation of IT, right? And fundamentally, you need to address these complex demands of IT, right, as the virtual infrastructure managers. And with that, there's many different stakeholders, the CIO and operations and CTO, the finance guys, the customers, global workforce, business units, all these putting different demands, right, on you. And ultimately, the solution is IT as a service, where IT is on demand, accessing any service, where there's transparency of cost. There's not some mythical overheads, but clarity of what the cost of different services are. It needs to be able to be delivered on any cloud and any platform, and increasingly programmable and automated infrastructure. You need to become a service provider. You need to deliver IT as a service business to your internal customers. And as we think about this breadth of customers and demands that are facing you, ultimately, IT, you have to view these as your customers. And if you don't meet their needs, they are going somewhere else. They're going around IT, and they're finding different ways to satisfy these problems. And ultimately, IT, right, must meet the needs of those customers and still satisfy the governance and the requirements of the operational integrity of the corporation you serve. So let's start by diving a little bit more deeply into end-user computing and how we're meeting the needs of the global workforce. And with that, I'd like to invite to join me on stage the newest member of the executive team at VMware, Sanjay Poonen. Sanjay? Very good, Sanjay. And you know, we've known each other well, but tell me more. They don't know you as well, so maybe you can tell the audience a bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Pat. It's a pleasure to be here. So I grew up in Bangalore, India, and spent the last 20 years of my professional life in the Silicon Valley, working at software companies like Microsoft and Apple, but more recently spent the last 7 years at SAP, a European company. So I spent a lot of time in Europe driving their analytics, big data, and mobile. So a lot of time with end users.
Okay, so you know, SAP, a great company, a great partner of ours. So why go from that great company to VMware?
You know, we're in Barcelona, and I'm a big soccer fan, a big football fan, so if I were to use an analogy, you couldn't be in Barcelona without talking about the greatest soccer player of all time, Messi. And I think if I could so add, I've got a lot of applause there, you know, VMware is like the Messi of infrastructure software, an innovator, a great company, the fastest growing company. So that was one. The second reason, look at the customers. 500,000 customers, 55,000 partners. You've got 8,000 people here, 23,000 in San Francisco. Just a cult-like following. And third, you know, it's a tremendous user, I think, with all of these tectonic shifts that you talked about this morning in end-user computing. And if I might jokingly add, my commute got 50 yards shorter. So thank you for that. It's right across the street.
Very good, Sanjay. So, you know, joining VMware, now, what do you see the opportunity in end-user computing? You know, tell them about, you know, where do you see this going?
I think we're at the pivotal stage of something big. The forces you talked about, whether it's mobile, big data, social, cloud computing, as it comes together, is going to create this huge opportunity for us to secure and unify a workspace across work and life for these types of business users. So that if you're going from a desktop to a laptop to a tablet to a phone to a Tesla or a car, you've got this unified place where your devices, your apps, your content just seamlessly work together. So this notion of being able to work anywhere is a huge opportunity, providing choice, so the end users have ultimate freedom. But then to the IT person, they've got a lot of the policy, all of this managed very centrally, so you get the best of both worlds, work and life balance. So as we think about that, we think that the huge opportunity here is, as you know, our product portfolio, the Horizon Suite, is to be able to take this broad portfolio that goes all the way from desktop to mobile to social. We've got some important announcements this week that we've announced. Version 5.3 with View, that's just got some great announcements for graphical acceleration and View and Mirage integration, management updates. We've also got some updates to the mobile, so lots of updates here. I think this is the portfolio of envy in the industry.
Good, very good. Now, but what are the unique challenges that you're facing as we look to this next era?
You know, part of the challenge I think that has existed in this space has been a few things that we have got to boldly solve, and as an innovative company, we're going to do that. So number one, the performance of these applications, whether it's virtual desktop infrastructure or all the way to mobile, it's got to be screamingly fast. It has to be extremely performant. The management's just got to be delightfully easy to use. That's really, really important, and we're going to make that happen with a lot of the things we're doing. And then third, I think the biggest barrier to many of this thing has been the cost. We're going to make some bold claims and bold parts of what we're going to do this year, not down the future. We're going to reduce the cost of the TCO of the virtual desktops to the exact cost or lower than a laptop. That's a huge, I think, step forward. Be killer. And then take this also from a CapEx type of model to an OpEx model where you can deploy this in the cloud. So desktop as a service, we think, is a game changer. It's been slowly adopted in the industry, and we think we've got some breakthrough things that we can do in desktop as a service.
So I think you got something particular you're going to announce to us today.
It's very, very exciting, and thank you for the investment that we're making. We're excited today to announce that VMware is acquiring Desktone, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome Peter McKay and the team from Desktone. They're sitting up here, and this is a company that's been just like us, an innovator and a pioneer in cloud computing meets the desktop. What they have done is very efficiently, on top of the infrastructure we provide, vSphere and View, built a multi-tenant platform, scale-out architecture with brokering that allows you to get to an efficient cloud place, a self-service portal, And they've done this in a way that allows us to work with partners, Cisco, Dell, NetApp, and many others, and through them in turn to service providers. So let's watch how the partners view this partnership.
Cisco is witnessing growing interest in the desktop as a service market segment as businesses look to the cloud for cost-effective ways to support the mobile workforce.
Increasingly, customers are looking for choice. They're looking for a variety of different solutions to deploy desktop virtualization. And desktop as a service is emerging as one of those preferred choices, really for both small and large businesses.
NetApp has seen significant increase in the DaaS market among our service provider space. This is really being fueled by the bring your own device and presenting some challenges out there which service providers can now address in terms of increased security and cost-effective solutions.
Our Cisco-powered cloud provider partners are rapidly adopting Cisco data center VDI architectures based on our validated desktop as a service solutions developed along with our open ecosystem partners, including Desktone.
One of the things we did very early in the process was look at a variety of solutions that could deliver on our desktop as a service offer. And the fact of the matter is we picked Desktone because it was the best solution available. You know, VMware and Desktone are really important partners to Dell today. They're an integral part of the solutions we deliver, and them joining forces to help us differentiate our offers in the marketplace is something we're very excited about.
NetApp is very excited about the acquisition of Desktone. This is going to allow VMware to have a stronger offering across private, public, and hybrid cloud. NetApp and VMware have a partnership of over 10 years, and we have over 40,000 joint customers. The partnership now with Desktone and with VMware is going to allow us to have a much stronger offering that we can bring to our customers and service providers.
So Pat, as you can see, this is we're excited to have the strategic endorsement of these big brand names, Cisco, Dell, and NetApp. And as you can see, with the investment and acquisition that we're making, end user computing is strategic to VMware. These are not the only three partners. Through them, we've got many other service providers, for example, Navisite, to Dimension Data, to Fujitsu, and we look forward to making this a part of the way in which end user computing meets the cloud. Very, very exciting times.
Yeah, obviously lots of momentum in end user computing. Great to have you as part of the leadership team, and today, a great announcement. Sanjay, thank you very much.
Very much. Thanks very much, Pat. Pleasure to be here.
So let's move from end user computing and now take a look at the software-defined data center. And VMware has laid out 3 areas that we're going to focus on: end user computing, software-defined data center, and hybrid cloud. And right alongside of those, but maybe most foundational to what you have been doing is this core infrastructure and how we're expanding that with the software-defined data center. But before we get too deep into that, let's think about the imperatives for building this next generation of IT infrastructure, And first, virtualization. Unquestionably, this has been the most powerful tool for IT over the last decade for transformation and for cost savings, And we're just getting started. You are just getting started. And next up in that is we see networking, and we'll talk much more about this today and the importance of transforming this next layer of the data center. But it's also about changing management into automation. And with automation is the key to establishing IT infrastructure that operates at the velocity of business. And third, the compatible hybrid cloud, what that means and how we're going to build and deliver it. But ultimately, again, the key to infrastructure is enabling applications, both traditional applications as well as new next-gen applications as well. And for many, many years now, vSphere has been focused on delivering this infrastructure. And in this infrastructure, vSphere has had, underneath that for compute, an incredibly broad array of programmable and policy-based infrastructure. And we're now extending that programmable and policy-based approach to every aspect of the data center. And literally, since before the first version of vSphere, it's how do we make compute programmable? how do we extend these capabilities? And today, there's, in vSphere alone, over 600 programmable methods, greater than 200 programmable properties in vSphere alone. And we're taking that same approach to networking, to storage, and to management. Taken together, these four elements, compute, network, storage, and management, represent the software-defined data center, right? And we have powerful vision for each one of these. In compute, expand virtualization to 100% of compute. Compute, every piece of it needs to become virtualized. Second, in storage, where storage is a complex, hard problem, and we need to have storage aligned with the application demands of today and tomorrow. For networking, right, we need to virtualize the network for speed and for efficiency. And finally, management, giving way to automation. No other company can make these bold claims about virtualization across the entire data center. That's what we are out to do. And that's what we, with you, our loyal, trusted partners and customers, are out to do, virtualize the entire data center. Now, before I dive into the specifics of each one of these four legs, it's my pleasure to introduce the chairman and CEO of Atos, the former Minister of Finance of France, right? The former CEO of France Telecom, a Harvard professor, a author of many books, maybe the most honored individual in IT in Europe today. Please join me in welcoming Thierry Breton to the stage. Thierry, my friend. Now, we often meet as partners, but today we're meeting as a customer.
I'm a customer.
You are a customer of the software-defined data center, and I'd like you to give your perspective on being that customer to our audience today. And you've adopted the software-defined data center for how you run Atos internally, and what impact has that had on Atos IT today?
You know, Pat, we at Atos are managing, I believe, the largest number of data centers in Europe for European companies. Mm-hmm. So when I joined Atos 5 years ago, I decided to transform the company, to move it to the new era, and we adopted SDDC. It has changed drastically our way to manage our data centers. But much more important, it has helped myself to change my company. Let me give you an example. I've decided 3 years ago that we will try to eradicate in Atos most of internal emails. I know it sounds weird, but we have decided to change it with our own enterprise social network.
Okay.
We did it extremely quickly thanks to SDDC. We were able to focus only on applications, not anymore on IT.
So running that on SDDC, right, made that possible. So, and how, what has been the impact on your business from these changes of how you operate IT internally?
I mean, huge impact. Before, we were managing IT for us and for our customers in order to reduce cost. Now, we can help them to focus on change management and growing opportunities. We are in a world where every 2 years, we are generating more data than every time before. So of course we know that for our customers, this is the gold mine of the future. And we are helping them in mobility, in big data management. We are helping them to reinvent their future. And now guess what? Our customers, our partners, the CIOs, the CTOs, they are now becoming the tools, the engine of growth in their company.
Mm-hmm. So everybody here, right, is somewhere on their SDDC journey. What advice would you give to them as they move down that path, and how they should be transitioning their infrastructure on that journey to the SDDC?
Well, of course, first, we are speaking about technology here. But let's forget for a while technology, because at the end, it will be pretty easy to adopt it. And let's focus which is much more important, on applications, change management, purposes. And this is the beauty of our job. I was working in IT for the past 30 years, except for 2.5 years. And you know what? That's the first time in my life that I can focus most of my time in what I like, using IT to change companies to invent the future. And by the way, if you want to come to us to see how we did it in Atos, of course we did things well, we did also some mistakes, but we changed our company using SDDC. You're welcome, and we will be extremely happy to share our experience together with you.
So now, I also understand that you were recently appointed to the European Union's cloud strategy, you and Jim, coming together to lay out the unique requirements for European customers considering the cloud. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Pat, you know, Europe is still fragmented. Mm-hmm. And by the way, in terms of cloud, you are pretty well positioned because your SDDC and softwares and tools are so useful that you can use it for every single European country. But we believe, as Europeans, Jim Schnabel and myself, and all the industrials around ourselves, that it's time to build a single market for cloud. Because at the end, cloud is about size, about opportunity to be big, to deliver speed, reactivity, and cost and savings. And this is why we are trying to adopt the same regulation all over Europe. This is nothing about protectionism, it's the opposite, helping Europe to be able to seize the great opportunity of cloud immediately.
Thierry, you honor us by your presence. Thank you for your insights, and please join me in thanking Thierry Breton.
Thank you.
So as I said, as we dive into the software-defined data center and the compute leg of it, it's about expanding virtualization to all apps, to every mission-critical app, every database, every Hadoop deployment, every embedded application. Every one of these should be taking advantage of the benefits of virtualization. And it's my pleasure to announce vSphere 5.5. vSphere 5.5 as we continue this relentless pace of innovation where, again, we're doubling the number of cores, doubling the number of VMs, doubling the number of virtual CPUs, 32x the size of the maximum VM disk up to 64 terabytes. Combining these with new innovations like flash cache has enabled us to be 2x performance on mission-critical applications. We're also expanding our high availability characteristics with app-aware high availability. Also releasing unique big data extensions to enable a dynamic infrastructure for big data applications, for multi-tenant and auto-scaling capabilities. Physical Hadoop, no more. And the result of this is apps love vSphere. And simple summary is applications. The best way for them to be deployed, managed, enabled, and scaled is with vSphere. But this is mostly about today's applications. Tomorrow's applications, likewise, are focused on next-generation frameworks. And for this, we're excited to offer Cloud Foundry on vSphere and vCloud hybrid service, the leading hybrid platform as a service offering with a rich and growing ecosystem of developers and partners. A powerful platform for next generation application development, now available both on and off premise. And the early access program is now available and will go GA before the end of the week. And you can see Pivotal here on the show floor. VMware is deeply committed to Cloud Foundry, and we were the company that made the original open source contributions. We were, we are, and we always will be a leader in the delivery of Cloud Foundry. And the result is even more apps love vSphere. But ultimately, apps need data. And as we look at this next leg of the software-defined data center, storage. 3 years at EMC taught me much about the difficulties, the challenges, and the unique demands and issues that storage faces. And it's hard to get right. And when we think about this broad range of both traditional and next generation application, each one of those with unique requirements for performance, latency, resilience characteristics. And virtualization in some ways has even made it worse, as we tend to randomize the I/O patterns coming out of those applications. And as a result, there's a wide range of storage infrastructure that has emerged, and it keeps evolving with different speed and capacity of disk and new technologies like flash and different abstraction models, file, block, and object capabilities. And clearly, one size does not fit all. And matching the right storage to the right application is complex. VMware has a long history of work in the storage industry as we move from physical to virtual and delivering many of the key innovations like VASA and VAI and storage vMotion and DRS. All of these were key technologies to enable the adoption of virtualization in the storage domain. And today is the next phase, the next leg of that journey in delivering software-defined storage. So what are the tenets of software-defined storage, and what do we need to do? And fundamentally, as we move to this world of automation, we have to dynamically match the right application requirements to the right storage for each and every application, and do that dynamically. We need to automate the delivery of the service level agreements, defining in policy what the service level is, and then guaranteeing the execution against it. And ultimately, for efficiency, pooling all of these storage resources. So let's look more carefully at the software-defined storage strategy. And we see that there are three elements to executing on this vision. First is a policy-driven control plane, where in policy you describe the capacity, the performance, the availability, backup, tier of storage, those types of things, in a policy layer that the VM can now manage. Second is the application-centric data services need to move to the virtual domain. Data services like replications, snaps, backups, all of these need to move from hardware-based into software dynamically available services. We also need to virtualize the data plane. And with this, being able to then pool these heterogeneous storage appliances and being able to deliver different application demands against that pool of storage resources. And finally, at the VMworld US, we announced vSAN, a new tier of storage. And vSAN is a powerful new capability that enables distributed shared storage as a capability of the compute and storage cluster. And you think about it that we take those local storage resources in the server cluster and enable them as a storage array, a new tier of storage. We combine that with high performance read and write caching that enables a very high performant tier that is resilient, that is also performant given its presence on the server device as well. So with local storage, read-write caching, insanely simple, right? Our technical guys like that term, insanely simple management, a new class of storage with vSAN. We see this as attacking certain use cases like VDI or Tier 3 storage, branch offices, all of these where this new class of storage with vSAN is exciting. Today, we also have another announcement. We're announcing the availability of a new backup capability, our VDP-A technology. And if the slides advance, I'll actually describe it to you. Oh, there we go. Okay, so today we're announcing the vSphere Data Protection Advanced 5.5, efficient, integrated. And with this, a backup capability that's simply another resource as part of the virtualization capabilities. And two particular capabilities that stand out. One is very efficient, right? 1/4 the storage space for backup requirements. And second is very rapid incremental restore and full restore capabilities, up to 6x faster. So exciting new capabilities in the backup tier as well. We've made a lot of progress in storage. So just summarizing the full range of storage things that we're working on. Today, describing virtual SAN. Virtual SAN in publicly general available beta right now. And since the announcement at our US VMworld conference, over 5,000 customers have joined in the beta process. We continue to work on vVol, this enabling of all this policy-based efficiency into external storage arrays. An industry-wide initiative making all of these arrays VM aware. And we're fully committed and executing on this path as part of our next major release of vSphere. As part of vSphere 5.5, adding vSphere Flash Read Cache. So on the read path, taking advantage of Flash for significant performance improvements. We announced our Versto acquisition earlier this year, and in particular, the write path is being optimized as part of Versto for data services and write consolidation, now available and shipping. And finally, the data protection that I just announced today. Simply put, we're doing a lot across the storage stack. But it's not just what we're doing, but more importantly, we're doing it with the industry, working with the ecosystem to drive our vision for software-defined data center across a broad range of our initiatives, as well as the industry's initiatives, with server suppliers to ensure broad range of support for new technologies like vSAN, with storage partners on initiatives like vVol, with the entire industry for virtualization of data services that, for the most part, are bound to physical arrays today and moving them into the virtual domain. In summary, right, software-defined storage, major new innovations, breakthroughs in the storage stack as well. Next up is networking. In my view, the most important topic that we're going to discuss today is virtualizing the network for speed and efficiency. And if we think about what we've done together, right, this idea of compute virtualization has been so powerful, where we can spin up VMs in seconds, right, and we can tear them down in seconds, right? And it's just amazing what that compute virtualization layer has done. But if, in fact, an app requires some change to the network, we're still bound to the physical network today, and provisioning is slow. It's often hardware dependent, increasingly, right, manual and complex. So while I might be able to spin up the VM, right, literally, right, in a second or two, right, it might take me weeks or even months if I need to change or update my L2 to L7 configurations or reconfigure the network. Today, that changes. And that's what network virtualization is all about. And that's why the announcement of NSX is so powerful and important. And at VMworld, we announced NSX. And you can think about NSX as an exact corollary to what ESX was for servers. This abstraction, pooling, and automation layer for compute resources is the exact equivalent of what NSX is for the abstraction, pooling, and automation of network resource. And with it, NSX is coming together of what VMware was working on, along with what Nicira was working on, the two best assets in the industry coming together into the platform for network virtualization called NSX. And today, I'm happy to announce the general availability of the NSX platform with tremendous support from the industry, from VMworld, right? We've seen this rollout to be exciting and powerful across the industry. But rather than me giving a technical description of what this is, it is my honor to invite onto stage Martin Casada, one of the founders and innovators in the entire SDN space. Please join me in welcoming Martin. So Martin, you and I have got to know each other quite well over the last couple of years, but I don't think the audience has that deep understanding of you. So just describe a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm very delighted to be here. The journey started when I was a PhD student at Stanford, where coincidentally and fortunately I had the good experience to work with Mendel Rosenblum, who was the technical founder of VMware. And even then, it was pretty clear that networking lagged compute when it came to features like programmability and flexibility. And so what I did, along with my advisor, Nick McCune at Stanford and Scott Schenker at Berkeley, was look at how you can change the architecture to make networking follow compute to be more of a software model. And so that work kind of underlined the foundation of what was later called software-defined networking and kind of paved the way onto Nicira.
That's really cool. So all this SDN stuff, we can blame you, right? You know, all this chaos that's been created, it's all your fault. So, you know, tell us about your passion and why execute that at VMware.
Yeah, listen, you know, I've been here for a year and I love it. I mean, my goal is to make networks worthy of the cloud era, which means that we need to change their model and their flexibility. And you know, what better place to do that than the most important software infrastructure company on the planet?
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about NSX?
Absolutely, delighted to. So fortunately, the concepts here are very simple and very similar to ESX. So what I'm going to do is step through a quick animation. In the data center, you have your physical networking gear, attached to which, of course, you have servers. And in a virtualized data center, on those servers, you run a hypervisor. For example, ESX. And within ESX, you have a software component called a vSwitch. And so that vSwitch today already exists, and it already handles all of the packets that go in and out of a VM. So what NSX does is within software, within the vSwitch, it harnesses all of those vSwitches together, and it creates what you can think of as a network hypervisor. So now I'm going to draw on the analogy between ESX. So what is ESX? ESX is a compute hypervisor. It's a thin software layer that exposes a virtual machine. And that virtual machine now becomes the focal point of operations. Instead of operators having to deal with hardware, with sheet metal, with cables, the operators now deal with a software entity. It can be controlled programmatically, it can be snapshotted, it can be rewound, it can be moved, all in software. So NSX does the same thing to the network. So from software on in the edge, non-disruptively, it exposes virtual machines, or sorry, virtual networks. So virtual networks look like physical networks. They have all of the services that your existing workloads need. Things like L2, L3, L4 through 7 services, such as firewalling and load balancing. But it has the operational model of a VM. So you can create them dynamically, you can move them and grow them and shrink them. And so with the power of virtualization, we provide a new level of visibility and control for both the virtual and the physical realm.
Well, this is way cool. I can even get this idea, you know, a network hypervisor. Okay, I get it. So, you know, it's fantastic work, but why now? Why is this the right moment in history for this to emerge?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So I think we're a lot further along than most people realize. Do you remember VMworld 2009?
Of course, yeah.
So I actually think this is a slide from then.
Yeah, and you know, I remember this slide well. It was really a critical point in the industry, because at the point that over 50% of your workloads went virtual, it was like this tipping point where all of a sudden this became the normal way to operate, not yet another island or silo in IT. A very powerful point in history, and we haven't slowed down since.
Yeah, that's right. So this was an inflection point in compute. And like I mentioned before, every instance of ESX has a vSwitch. And so as goes compute, so goes the network. And so last year, we saw a very similar renaissance within networking in which the virtual ports, these are software ports connected to virtual switches, exceeded the number of physical ports globally. And so in many ways, the networking edge has already become virtualized.
So we're already running virtual networks in some ways.
That's exactly right. And this isn't just a technical phenomenon. In fact, many members of the audience here already have experience with this. If you talk to analysts, they'll say 40% of virtual admins already have experience configuring these. And when we talk to our 500,000 VMware customers, 77% are planning for network virtualization in the near future.
This is mind-blowing, Martin. So is this one of the largest networking conferences in all of Europe?
In some ways it can be. And instead of us talking about it, why don't we actually talk to some of our customers?
Okay. Now, I want real customers, not wimpy ones.
Sure. So how about Citi, eBay, and GE? When we did VMworld San Francisco a couple months before, they they came on and they talked about it, and so how about we have the video where they describe it?
Okay.
Great. Go ahead and run the video. Thank you.
Citi being a global financial services company, and our tagline is Citi never sleeps, which really means IT never sleeps. And to deliver that scale of a service, requires a lot of investment in the data center infrastructure. And we've already virtualized over 50% of our server infrastructure, and that goes beyond even x86 infrastructure, includes our other system architectures. So the next logical step really in carrying the promise of virtualization throughout the data center is to tackle the network.
What network virtualization offers us is three things. One is it simplifies our physical infrastructure. Second is it actually gives us a programmatic API to deal with the network. And third is it gives us agility. And by the way, we didn't have to make any change to the physical infrastructure. And this has been awesome, and it's been a wonderful partnership with VMware.
As we've gotten further into this, we aggressively virtualize all of our application tiers, and that has reached orders of magnitude of performance and speed for the company. And as we've gotten further into automation, we've seen that the network itself is still in the physical world. It's still a bottleneck to that process. So we see network virtualization as the ability to apply the same technologies, right, the same automations to that process, and ultimately deliver the speed that the business is looking for.
Wow. What a list of customers and what testimonial from them. I don't think we could have asked for bigger, more significant companies on this journey with us. Impressive, Martin. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for joining us on stage, giving us this tutorial one-on-one, and I think you have drill downs and other sessions here, yep. Right? Martin, you're great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And NSX, general availability today. And NSX is being launched with amazing ecosystem support, 25 partners announcing their products with us and announcing their services. And a number of them are showcasing on the show floor here in the Solutions Exchange. Martin has a session tomorrow, a deeper technical view and the implications of this, many partner and breakout sessions as well, hands-on labs for NSX network virtualization, the next leg, right, of the software-defined data center journey. So we've looked at compute, we've looked at storage, we've looked at networking. Let's turn our lens toward management. And management is a major area of focus for us at VMware. And we've talked earlier about these complex demands that IT is facing today, and how all these different people are looking at you to deliver this set of services and trade-offs and value. And ultimately, cloud management is the glue that exists between all of those different users, what you do, and how you deliver them to the business. And against that, right, this cloud management portfolio becomes absolutely critical against that. And we see this objective of delivering IT as a service, of having these three pillars of the management stack to go with it: cloud automation, cloud operations, and cloud business. And for cloud automation, it's very much satisfying the needs of the users, the line of business. And today we're announcing vCloud Automation Center 6.0. And for cloud operations, this is primarily the lens of IT and how you operate, right, the IT infrastructure effectively and efficiently. And today we're announcing vCenter Operations Management Suite 5.8 and vCenter Log Insight 1.5. And finally, it's managing the financial aspects and running IT like a business. And for that, our IT Business Management 8.0 suite and our IT Business Management Suite 1.0. All of these being announced today as the most powerful major advancements for cloud management in the industry. And against this, right, we see these overall tools and capabilities as operating against these key principles for how IT as a service must operate. First, on-demand access to any service. Second is cost transparency of how much it really costs to operate and deliver that service. All aspects must be automated and programmatic so it can be integrated and enabled. And finally, heterogeneous. It needs to be on any cloud and any platform and provide freedom of choice and flexibility. So let's look at how these capabilities are emerging. Right, first, vCloud Automation Center 6.0. And in the age of consumer IT, where we all expect that we can take out our iPhone and go to the App Store and download an app, that's how our users are expecting us to be able to go to the IT App Store and be able to load and deliver applications. But you know you have to do that with governance and compliance as well. And with that, vCloud Automation Center 6.0 is delivering this complete self-service catalog. And this is not just for VMware applications and services, but for literally any IT service, acquiring a new laptop, a new application, a new piece of infrastructure. And it's not just for the individual pieces, but for the complete application service, such as the VM and all of the services and network components, just like we were talking about now. And it has multiple stakeholders, multiple views, the IT view of building and delivering the catalogs, the user view, and also increasingly the application and DevOps view as well, with integrations with tools like Puppet. Across IT, vCloud Automation Center is the interface for delivering on-demand access to any service. But also is delivering cost transparency. And today we're announcing new IT business management tools for the cloud. Transparency into the cost of VMs and the infrastructure services that we're enabling for IT, as well as the utilization of these resources. And with ITBM, it automatically imports information from VCAC as well as from VC, building rate cards and being able to present those. It also has benchmarking capabilities that enables transparency of costs for a range of different private as well as public services and being able to present and drill down onto those costs, being able to fully understand and present to executives, users, and customers costs as well as their alternatives, uniquely enabling management on demand and accountability into the costs of cloud resources wherever they might be. But it's also important to deliver automated operations, making your life better. And we're off to make vSphere the best to run IT, the best and purpose-built for the cloud, but also see that it's critical to integrate with physical and broad infrastructure as well, and provide increasing visibility across this entire stack to deliver services. And today we're announcing storage analytics, right? Out-of-the-box storage analytics as part of VC Operations Center that adds our universal storage visibility management pack that gives end-to-end visibility through the storage hierarchy, through the HBA, the fabric, and the array, right, through standard protocols, SMIS and SIM and VASA, into the complete SAN and fiber channel environment that exists today, analyzing resource contention, throughput, latency, availability characteristics of the entire storage stack. Earlier this year, we also announced vCenter Log Insight, and today we're announcing the second version of that product. And again, right, a powerful new tool to look at log and other unstructured data and be able to search, query, analyze, and do analytics on that data. Present it through dashboards, queries, alerts that are pre-built as part of the tool. And out-of-the-box content packs for this with a variety of infrastructure as well as tools like EMC and NetApp arrays, Puppet, high-trust environments, and delivered with a very compelling pricing model for analytics and search type capabilities. And finally, increasing visibility into health monitoring of the full application. So out-of-the-box visibility into application health for products like Exchange and SQL Server, giving the tools that IT needs to automate operations across the complete infrastructure that you're required to deliver against today. As we've indicated, it's any cloud and any platform. we're clearly out to make vSphere the best environment to run IT in today. But a critical requirement we've gotten from our customers is, as more and more of our infrastructure is running on VMware and VMware's cloud management, we need you to manage the rest of the environment as well. And with that, we are fully committed to delivering this management and these tools across Hyper-V and OpenStack and AWS and other clouds and physical infrastructure, with improvements in our tools for topology mapping, for key performance indicators, for management across these hybrid and heterogeneous environments, adding visibility into AWS environments through things like their CloudWatch API, into Hyper-V environments with integration into their SCOM tool, support for Red Hat and their OpenStack environment. We're fully committed to meeting the management needs of IT across heterogeneous and complex infrastructure. So some customer successes for each one of these legs as they're realizing the value of the cloud management stack, right? Customers in cloud automation, customers in cloud operations, customers in cloud business, a comprehensive set of solutions for the enterprise. Let's hear from one of these European customers, Orange Business Services, a global IT and communications services company supplier, 20,000 professionals in 220 countries, 43 billion euros in sales, an enormous customer finding great value in the VMware cloud management stack.
Orange is the global telco provider working in 34 countries. We posted in 2012 44 billion euros as turnover. Our customers, they are looking for flexibility, agility, elasticity when it comes to their digital transformation.
To develop our cloud offerings, we chose VMware. VMware was able to provide us the key features for cloud offerings, multi-tenant solutions, self-service solution.
Well, this infrastructure as a service is entirely built over the VMware stack. We are managing 25,000 VMs, so it's quite huge. And the problem is, if you want to deliver the ultimate promise of the cloud of, let's say, virtually unlimited capacity, you have to have a very, very smart capacity management, or you will overspend on having an extra buffer that will kill your business case. So you need powerful tools for that. vCops is just the tool we need to be able to manage this very large estate without losing the visibility of individual behavior of VMs that are critical to the business. The users we are serving in total are more or less the employees of the group, and we are charging a few hundred of internal users. And for that we use Chargeback, who is able to show the exact spend by the application and by the VM and help us fine-tune the resource consumption and optimize the cost of the group. Well, the VMware product really delivered the promise that we expected for this cloud.
And in that, there are two particularly powerful statements to me, how Orange sees cloud management as critical to enabling unlimited capacity in their cloud, and how automation is the essential tool to managing cloud at scale. We were very happy to recently be validated by IDC as now the #1 in cloud management in the industry, a clear testament to the value that we're bringing to customers broadly. Gartner recently said that our customers prefer cloud management to come from their infrastructure vendors. In the last year, we've more than doubled the number of customers using our cloud management tools, and tremendous partner interest as we expand our routes to market and our reach into the customer base. Ultimately, #1 in cloud management, and we are investing and picking up the pace. And as you think about cloud management, and it is the unique portal to deliver IT as a service across the software-defined data center, across compute, network, and storage, but it also is increasingly the way that you're going to see and take access to the public cloud services and hybrid cloud, as well as you heard Sanjay describe the criticality of the integration for end-user computing. And cloud management is this interface, the intersection point where all of these demands are seen. So that's a perspective on cloud management. Let's now shift to talking about hybrid cloud. In the IT industry, there's a secular trend underway to take advantage of public cloud services in some manner or another. And hybrid cloud is this seamless interoperability of on-premise with off-premise resource. And whenever we talk about public cloud, we respond with hybrid cloud as the unique way to meet IT needs. So what do we mean when we talk about hybrid cloud? And maybe the best way to think about it is the seamless extension of your on-premise data center into a set of fully compatible public cloud services. And this ability to seamlessly move in and out of those environments and those resources. The hybrid cloud, the full integration of on and off-premise. And with that, right, existing and new applications compatibly move across that environment. A common management plane so you can see all of the resources, all the VMs, whether they're on or off-premise. Common networking, common support mechanisms. And with this, we see this as the IT cloud. This is your IT cloud for the future. And rather than line of business running around you and finding different ways to meet their needs, this is the way that we can deliver without compromise the needs for IT, regulation, SLAs, and governments, and yet the flexibility, agility, and dynamic requirements that can be met by public cloud resource, the hybrid cloud. And for this, we're seeing powerful take-up, right, for a broad set of our vCloud service providers. We have over 11,000 service providers in 162 countries today taking advantage of our software to deliver cloud resources. The logos that are listed on this slide are the premier vCloud service providers here in EMEA. This is one of the fastest growing routes to market for VMware. We will continue to invest and partner with this ecosystem. And everything that we develop, either from our vCloud hybrid service or from our SDDC, will continue to deliver with and through these partners into the industry. We'll continue to provide choice as the broad way of enabling providers to you, our customers. And with that, I'd like to bring on stage with me to talk a bit more about the VMware hybrid cloud service, Bill Fathers, a 10-year cloud veteran. Bill?
Thanks so much indeed.
Very good, Bill. So a 10-year veteran of the cloud. I didn't even know that we used the term cloud 10 years ago. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Certainly 10 years ago, not that many clients were starting to embrace the public cloud. For the last 7 years, running a company called Savis, that was a worldwide global provider of cloud-based infrastructure services, I'd say we've now reached the point where the vast majority of our clients are starting to embrace the public cloud in one form or another.
Okay, so 10-year, you're a hot commodity. I mean, you could go any place, right? Why VMware?
I think you nailed it during your sort of previous slide there. This idea that the hybrid cloud is going to become the dominant way that our clients start to embrace it. And if you think about the players out there that can become dominant players in the hybrid cloud marketplace, it feels like VMware is one of only very few players that's going to be able to become a global leader. So the chance to help contribute towards that was very appealing.
Well, we're delighted to have you on the team, Bill. So, we launched the service at the US VMworld event. So how's it gone?
Really well, thanks, Pat. So our early access program was quite heavily oversubscribed and ended successfully in September of this year, where we went into general availability of the service. Just yesterday, we announced the addition of 2 new locations in the United States.
Okay.
And I guess we're really starting to get a feel for how our clients are starting to embrace the platform to see the benefits that we'd really hoped they would.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of those early customers?
Gladly. I think the first point I'll make is that for most of them, the main driver has been about increasing their agility. And if we start by talking about Harley-Davidson dealer systems, Harley-Davidson were very keen to deploy a new application to their 1,700 retail branches throughout the United States. And it's a web application that needs to get access to data that was contained on their customer relationship management software that was already sitting on VMware technology. And they're able to deploy the application, quickly scale it, and get it into data centers that were physically closer to their retail branches than their existing data center. So they got the application out months quicker than they would have done. The second great example came from Columbia Sportswear. And Columbia were looking for ways in which they could parallel their development and testing cycles. And they very quickly started to use the vCloud hybrid service as the platform for doing development and then testing of applications. And again, in terms of agility, they were able to shave months off the timeframes for getting an application from an idea to reality and being used by their stores throughout the world.
Very good.
But perhaps the third example, a lot of our clients are using vCloud hybrid service as their location for disaster recovery.
Okay.
Kcura is a very fast-growing software as a service company, and they just eclipsed 80,000 clients being delivered out of their single data center, growing very, very fast. And they'd reached the point where they needed to quickly add a disaster recovery location, and they just made that vCloud hybrid service their disaster recovery location. So literally in a matter of 3 days, they created an entire replication of their existing environment on vCloud hybrid service. So hopefully those are 3 great examples.
Now, all that's great, but we're in Europe, Bill.
Well, I'm delighted to announce that we're now bringing vCloud hybrid service to Europe, and we're announcing the availability of our first location in Europe, which is going to be in the United Kingdom. And we start a beta program here in beta as opposed to beta program here in November. Thank you. That we are just announcing is available to our clients across Europe, and we'll be announcing our rollout across the rest of the Europe in due course. But it's what I hope to be doing is coming back here in a year's time and start to talk about how some of our new European clients are going to start to embrace vCloud hybrid service.
Okay, so that's the platform, but what about services on top of it? What can you tell us about those?
Well, we started to talk about disaster recovery as a service, and again, that's a capability that goes into beta here in the 4th quarter. But for many of our clients, the ability to fully automate the creation of a disaster recovery and use that for auto failback or recovery to multiple locations. And that's a service that goes into beta in the 4th quarter and rolls into GA in Q1. And obviously, our existing site recovery manager clients are very interested in that. You already talked about the highly performant Cloud Foundry on vCloud hybrid service, which allows clients now to use that platform as a service capability to develop apps both on-premise, or if they quickly need more capacity, they can now use Cloud Foundry off-premise. Thirdly, Sanjay announced the exciting acquisition of Destone, and we're using their technology to make a desktop as a service offering available, again, going into beta in the 4th quarter. Desktop as a service offering on the vCloud hybrid service platform. I'll keep going. 4th, around the hybrid cloud management integrations. So all of those great management tools across the 3 areas of management that you talked about are now fully integrated in the vCloud hybrid service. So effectively, you can use your vCenter tool to move workload from on-premise to off-premise. Equally with vCloud Automation Center, you can move workload on and off-premise, and of course with vCenter Operations, App Director, Hyperic, all these apps and all these tools are now fully integrated. And finally, we're announcing today our application marketplace. We already have over 3,500 pre-qualified applications that are available now to download, and you can immediately deploy those applications on vCloud hybrid service. So a lot of things coming that we're adding more and more value onto the platform.
Good. This is good progress, but remember, we're in Europe, Bill, and Europe's different. You know, and just give us a little bit of your philosophy and how we're approaching the European market.
Absolutely. We're very excited to be bringing vCloud hybrid service, but we know that many of our European clients are very keen to make sure they understand precisely where the data is physically located if they're putting it up onto vCloud hybrid service. They want to make sure it's being managed under the proper legal jurisdiction, and of course that the data that is in the right location, it's under the right legal jurisdiction, that data is secure and being properly managed. So we're very keen, and it's sort of embedded in our philosophy of how we're rolling the service out in Europe with many of our existing partners, to really look at the data protection directive in Europe and make sure that we're embedding that in our strategy to have a local feel to the service offering. So we're fairly convinced that this hybrid cloud model is the way that the industry is going to go, and in a few years' time, this will be the default model for delivering hybrid cloud services. So hopefully that's helpful.
Hopefully. And we're excited. I mean, this is great. And Bill, it's just fabulous having you on the leadership team with us. And this whole area of hybrid cloud, what an exciting area for VMware in the future. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you very much indeed.
Let's do a brief recap of these 3 imperatives that we described and have explored in the course of our time together today. First, virtualization extending to all of IT, every resource in the data center becoming virtualized, the network and all of the services that go with it, storage and all of the availability capabilities that go with it, management giving way to automation as the only way to deliver IT in the future. And finally, this idea of the compatible hybrid cloud, this ability to seamlessly extend right on and off premise and deliver that as the platform for all of IT innovation into the future. And as we think about those areas, we're just awed that we can be standing in front of the most disruptive force in our industry today. Over our 10 years together, you have rewired IT, the scalability, the incredible cost savings, the agility, without downtime, the most reliable platform in the history of IT that you have done. VMworld is your show. The tracks, the technical training, the hands-on labs, the show floor, this is your show because you have done incredible things. But as we saw today, you are just getting started. You are poised to disrupt. You are poised to transform. You are poised to rewire IT again and again and again. The mobile cloud era is in front of you. And as the masters of virtualization, as the champions of this era, you are set to change IT yet again. Thank you very much. You are champions.